everyone, welcome to the next video where I read The Curse is Cute, a chicken nugget transformation saga. This chapter is called Spicing Things Up, and it's actually my favorite chapter. So just as a warning, it contains transformation, female to male TG, MC/identity debt, and it has 2,292 words. If you are sensitive to any of the topics I mentioned, please do not listen to this. This was originally made by Narwhal Ball. And let's get into the story, because I really like it and I'm excited to read it. October 15th. The desert didn't cool down at night. That was the first lie Hannah Saucer had ever been told about Mesa Creek, Arizona. At least it gets cool after dark. That's what the guidance counselor said when they first moved here. As if temperature could make poverty easier. As if heat had anything to do with the kind of burning Hannah lived with. Spoiler, it wasn't. The worst part was that the heat stayed after the sun left, like trauma that learned how to sweat. The desert didn't cool down. It just got quieter, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to snap. Hannah's room was barely more than a sun-bleached box at the back of the house. 4 cracked walls that breathed dust, a sagging ceiling fan that squealed like a sick bird, its blades tilting out of sync. Her bed, if you could call it that, was nothing more than couch cushions stacked crooked on an old milk crate. It dipped in the middle. If she rolled too far on the left at night, she woke up and sprawled on the cracked tile. One cheek pressed against concrete that radiated stored up heat like a dying stove. There was no closet. No lock on the door. No privacy. Just this oven of punishment and silence, wedged at the far end of a hallway that always smelled like canned chili and spilled beer. It's the kind of decor HTGTV politely calls distressed. Mesa Creek cooked everything alive. The streets, the bones, the tempers. It was the kind of place where the pavements shimmered even at dusk. Where the only breeze came from passing pickup trucks that howled through potholes like wolves chasing something they'd never catch. Men spit on the sidewalks and argued about guns outside the Dollar General. Women smoked out on porches inside peeling lawn chairs, sunburnt and hollow-eyed, with cigarettes trembling between fingers that had stopped carrying sometime back in the 90s. Kids either left or vanished. The ones who stayed learning to stop wanting things. Inside the house, the air was barely better than the outside. Her mother, Deborah, chain-smoking, glassy-eyed, didn't say that much anymore. Her stepfather, Roy, said too much. When he wasn't yelling, he was sneering. When he wasn't sneering, he was watching. And he was always watching. He was the one who put the ankle monitor on her. Said she was a flight risk. Said he didn't trust the twitchy look in her eye. Said it was for her own safety. He said a lot of things. All of them boiled with the kind of threat he never had to raise his voice. The monitor beeped if she got too close to the door. She hadn't crossed the invisible line in months. Not since the first time it shocked her. Her step-siblings Dale, Chuck, Kyle, and Jack were worse in their own way. Loud, cruel, ravenous locusts who raided the kitchen first and left nothing behind but wrappers and crumbs. They called her things she never repeated. Took her food, mocked her walk, her voice, her silence. And her mother, if she noticed, looked the other way. Damn, this is like Cinderella, but with no happy ending. You're the quiet one, they'd say. You're the sensitive one, the pretty little victim. It sounded like pity, but it wasn't. It was mockery. They hated her for not fighting back, for being soft, for surviving without burning anyone. But she wasn't weak. She was just tired. And tired people didn't learn how to outlast. Hannah didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She waited, and kept a little piece of herself hidden, right beneath the bone, where nobody could touch it. That night, she couldn't sleep. The fan wheezed above her, throwing hot air in uneven bursts. She lay still beneath a sheet so thin it was barely worth the name. Her arms stuck to her sides with sweat. Her stomach growled. They'd eaten all the dinner. Again. All that was left was a dry pack of saltines tucked under her mattress, crumbling in the dark. She counted cracks in the ceiling. She focused on her breath, tried not to think of the monitor on her ankle, the way it itched, the way it felt like it was carved into her skin. Tried not to think about how long she'd been stuck here. Her laptop sat dark on the milk crate beside her bed, screen smudged with dust. She wasn't supposed to have internet, but she found a way. There were always cracks, even in hell. Her fingers reached out for it out of habit, woke the screen, and then, bing! An email. She blinked. Sat up slowly. The sun and monitor made her vision flicker. She hadn't eaten since the day before. The monitor ankle buzzed softly as she adjusted. Still within range. Still a good little ghost. The message had no greeting. No warning. Just this. From BZ. Subject. Burn it down. You've been cooking too long. Time to come out crispy. Attached. Sizzle.mp4. Her heart thudded. Once. Hard enough to hurt. Honestly, it sounded like a threat. The attachment stared at her, daring something in her she hadn't heard in a long time. She didn't hesitate. She clicked. The video didn't load. It ignited. The screen blazed. A blast of red, then white, like someone had shoved a lit match into her brain. The sound hit a second later. Not a voice. Not a scream. A laugh. Not kind, mocking, and horribly familiar. Imagine your inner goblin finally getting a microphone. Her laugh, but not like hers. Twisted, mean, yet beautiful. Like a version of herself that always existed. Locked in a chest she would ever open. Her breath caught. The air in the room bent around her like heat rising from the asphalt. And then something inside her cracked. She stood too fast. The world tilted sideways. Her legs buckled, knees trembling beneath her as a wave of heat surged up her spine. She gripped the edge of the window frame, gasping. The air didn't just feel hot. It felt angry, alive. Translation. I see your anger shimmering. Time to flare it into flame. Her teeth clenched. At first it was just a tingle. Then it became an itch. Then it became unbearable. Like thousands of ants dipped in hot sauce crawling under her skin. She gasped, stumbling forward. Her breath coming short and sharp as her body flushed dark red. Her skin was basically a matchbook at this point. The heat didn't stop. It climbed. And that's where the transformation began. Her skin pricked painfully, though it was being seared from the inside out. The first thing she noticed was the fur. It started as supple, dark and coarse, stabbing through the skin on her arms. Then it spread like wildfire. Red. Burning red. It raced down her collarbones, over her shoulders, spiraling in sharp, jagged patches that shimmered like embers. Imagine being skinned and rehung in your own fur coat. Her ribs cracked audibly, loud and wet, as she doubled over, clutching her chest as her sternum bent inward, her breast flattening away, bone grinding painfully against bone. Her breath hitched as her torso compressed, her back muscles tightening into cords as her vertebrae popped inward one by one. Her legs gave out, dropping to her hand, urged to her knees as her tailbone flared hot and yanked. Something under her skin tore as the base of her spine cracked open. A bushy red and white tail was bursting forth with a sharp pop, flaring wide before curling over on her side. Her feet righted. She yelped as the tendons snapped and recoiled, her arches collapsing, toes fusing into blood, sharp-tipped paws as claws punched through her old skin like knives. The podiatrist would be horrified. One by one, each impact making her gasp harder. She staggered to her feet, somehow, lurching towards the cracked mirror above her crate, and she saw it began to take her face. Her mouth opened in a silent scream as her cheeks flushed with color and heat, exposing her now bucktooth. The kind of look that says, I will ruin you, and I will enjoy it. Her nose crumpled and blackened into a soft, dainty triangle. Her skin stretched over her skull as her brow furrowed on its own. black sclera swallowing the whites of her eyes as pinprick pupils cut through the darkness, full of sharp, white light. Above her eyes, the fur, that burning red, arched down like a hood over her gaze, casting it in a shadow that even in the light. She tried to close her eyes, but they stayed open. Mocking. Honestly, it was great luck if you wanted to terrify everyone at brunch. Her ribs heaved violently as the pain in her chest reached a peak, her body tightening, compacting, her old tank top ripping down the sides as it sagged around her new plush, dense frame. A long white strip of fur shot down her belly, curling around her hips, then down along the tip of her tail. Another spasm slammed through her legs and she fell forward again, catching herself on the floor as her claws gouged long lines into the tile. Her old pajama pants slouched off her, shrinking hips and pulled uselessly around her feet. She was basically buried in her own discarded self now, like she was suffocated by her old self. A hot pressure built between Hannah's legs, surging heavier until her breath came in sharp gasps. The heat twisted, reshaping her, until the soft anatomy of a male squirrel centered there, hidden beneath the new fur, but unmistakable. And then came the final wave. Her whole body began to shimmer. Her breath hitched as the lines of her body simplified, flattening into a 2D caricature of herself, outlined in thick black. Her frame was small, but it radiated, red and white, smug and furious. She soon stopped recognizing her life. First her dad dying, being replaced by a meaner one. You're a mean one, Mr. Not Saucer. Getting lazy siblings, being forced to cook, being forced to clean. Those problems were fading away from her, and she would be left as nothing but a shell of her former self with a new mindset. Her reflection stared back now. No, his reflection, cocky and dangerous, eyes gleaming like pinpricks of mischief and shadow. A smirk curled across his muzzle, lazy and venomous, the kind of grin that never meant anything good. His claws flexed with idle malice, tail flicking behind him like a fuse just waiting for the match. Yes, spelt like that, confidence lets you commit spelling crimes. And then he laughed, not out of joy, but spite. A sharp, high-pitched cackle that sliced through the heavy air like broken glass. It came unbidden, like a reflex, like blinking or breathing. Yet it felt so right. Like he'd been holding that laugh back for years. The laugh of someone who didn't care anymore. About being nice. About being liked. About surviving. That's right, he rasped, tongue flickering across his buck-toothed, voice dripping with snide delight. Say hello to the new me. The name flared in his chest. Arrogant, bright, inevitable. Hot sauce. Sorry, I was just so excited to read that part. And it came with the rest. A flood of vicious clarity, scalding away anything soft or uncertain. The pain had carved more than his body. It had stripped him down to the truth. The kindness had been a cage. That politeness was a muzzle. That had been a mask. He remembered every insult, every shove, every whisper behind closed doors. He didn't flinch from them now. He thrived on them. They didn't hurt anymore. They were funny, stupid, pathetic. Why should he care what people like that thought? He didn't want pity. He didn't want acceptance. He wanted to burn. He wanted to watch them squirm, to mock them the way they used to mock him, to smirk and sneer and laugh at their pain in the way they laughed at his silence. He'd been soft once too soft. But now? Now he was spite on two legs, sarcasm in fur, a middle finger wrapped in claws. Hot sauce didn't care who got hurt, as long as it was funny, as long as he got to laugh. Hot sauce stood straighter now, pawing aside the pile of old rags that had been his clothes, shaking the ash of hat off his shoulders. He admired himself, the curled tail twitching with fury, the claws sharp enough to spit the tile, the wicked little grin that wouldn't leave his face, the fur still steaming faintly where it touched his own shadow. He wasn't soft anymore. He was the burn now. Hansel glanced once at the mirror, his black and white pupils catching on the heat, shimmer already building around him, then raised one claw and scratched it down the glass. Clink! The surface of the mirror cracked, light bleeding through the fixtures. A vortex of molten red, oranges, and yellows roared open to the other side. A world of heat and chaos that welcomed him home. Behind him, the room bent and sagged under the waves of heat pouring off him. Posters peeling, wood creaking, the ceiling fan shrieking as it finally gave up and stopped. The ankle monitor slipped loose and clattered to the floor. Still blinking green as Hot Sauce stepped forward. No hesitation. No fear. No kindness left to spend. Just a burn. With a cruel laugh, he sank into the molten light. The vortex hissed shut behind him. All that remained in the suffocating little room was a faint smell of ash and oil, and the echo of claws dragging across glass. The nice one was gone. Hot Sauce had arrived. Sorry if I got excited reading some parts. It's just I love this chapter. Anyway, well, yep, that's the chapter. Very happy to read it. And the next one will probably be tomorrow or next day after. But whenever I make it, I'll surely make it. Until next time, please make sure to subscribe. And goodbye.